The stellar dawn hummed quietly as it drifted through the void between star systems, its cargo bay temporarily converted into a makeshift nursery. Jack Martinez wiped sweat from his brow as he adjusted the environmental controls for the third time that hour. The little draconian hatchling in the containment unit required precise atmospheric conditions, something the human transport ship wasn't originally designed to provide. Still fussing over our passenger? Daisy Chen emerged from the cockpit, her pilot's jacket slung over her shoulder. As the ship's communications officer, she'd been monitoring Federation channels all morning. "This little guy's temperature keeps fluctuating," Jack replied, tapping the readouts on his datapad. "The medical files say he's got some kind of neurological condition that affects his thermal regulation." Daisy peered into the containment unit where a small iridescent creature no larger than a house cat lay curled up. Unlike the magnificent spacefaring dragons of the Draconian Empire, this hatchling's wings were malformed, twisted at odd angles, and his scales lacked the usual metallic sheen of his species. "Poor little thing," she murmured. "His family really just gave up on him?" Jack's jaw tightened. According to the transfer documents, defective offspring drain resources from the clutch. They wanted him disposed of humanely. He made air quotes around the word humanely, his voice dripping with disgust. What the humans didn't know was that Admiral Vorthak of the Draconian Imperial Fleet had been monitoring their vessel for the past 6 hours. The massive dreadnought Flame of Eternity maintained a careful distance, its cloaking systems engaged. Vorthak had initially intended to verify that the humans were transporting his nephew safely to the rehabilitation facility on Kepler Station, but what he observed had kept him watching far longer than planned. Back on the stellar dawn, Jack had opened the containment unit and was gently stroking the hatchling's head with one finger. The little dragon's eyes, large and golden like all his species, tracked Jack's movements with obvious intelligence. "Hey there, buddy," Jack whispered. "I know you're probably scared. New ship, new people, but we're going to take good care of you, okay?" The hatchling made a small trilling sound, almost like a purr. "I think he likes you," Daisy observed, settling cross-legged on the floor beside them. "The medical files say his cognitive development is normal," Jack explained, carefully lifting the small dragon from the containment unit. "It's just his body that didn't develop right. Look at these eyes. He understands everything we're saying." Admiral Vorthak's own golden eyes widened as he watched the human pilot cradle his nephew against his chest. In Draconian culture, physical weakness was considered a mark of shame. Defective hatchlings were typically euthanized within days of hatching to prevent them from becoming a burden on the clutch. The Admiral himself had signed the disposal order without a second thought. But these humans. "You want to try flying?" Jack asked the hatchling, whose name, according to the files, was Sethin. "I know your wings don't work right, but maybe we can improvise." Jack stood slowly, supporting the small dragon in his arms, then began to move around the cargo bay in swooping motions, banking left and right while making whooshing sounds. Sethin's eyes brightened, and he spread his malformed wings as far as they would go, chirping excitedly. "Look at him go," Daisy laughed, pulling out her personal recorder. "He's loving this." For 20 minutes, Jack flew Sethin around the cargo bay, diving and climbing, barrel rolling carefully while Daisy provided sound effects. The hatchling's chirps grew stronger, more confident, and for brief moments he almost seemed to forget his physical limitations. On the bridge of the Flame of Eternity, Admiral Vorthak found himself leaning forward, transfixed. His communications, Officer Commander Yathari, noticed her superior's unusual behavior. "Admiral, should we continue monitoring?" Vorthak didn't answer immediately. He watched as the human pilot carefully returned Sethin to his containment unit, adjusting the padding and ensuring the temperature was perfect. The female human had fabricated a small toy from spare components, a miniature spacecraft that glowed softly when squeezed. "Sir?" Yathari pressed. "How long until they reach Kepler Station?" Vorthak asked quietly. "Approximately 14 hours at their current speed." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment, watching as Jack read to the hatchling from a datapad, his voice gentle and patient. Sethin listened intently, occasionally reaching out with one small claw to touch the human's hand. "Sir, I'm receiving a priority transmission from the Kepler facility," another officer reported. "They're requesting confirmation of the disposal order for the defective hatchling." Admiral Vorthak's claws extended slightly, scarring the armrest of his command chair. "Tell them there's been a change of plans." "Sir? The hatchling is to be transferred to the human vessel permanently," Vorthak declared. "Register Jack, Martinez and Daisy Chen as his legal guardians under interspecies adoption protocols." The bridge fell silent. Commander Yathari's neck frills flared in surprise. "Admiral, with respect, that's unprecedented. A draconian hatchling in human custody?" Vorthak stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the bridge. "I've watched these humans for hours, Commander. They show my nephew more care and respect in one afternoon than his own clutch did in 3 months. They see past his disabilities to the person within." He gestured to the view screen, where the stellar dawn continued on its course. "Humans have a saying, 'It takes a village to raise a child.' Perhaps it's time we learned what that truly means." As the flame of eternity decloaked and began transmitting new orders to Kepler Station, Admiral Vorthak allowed himself a small smile. His nephew might never soar through space on his own wings, but in the hands of these remarkable humans, perhaps he could learn to fly in ways the Draconian Empire had never imagined. In the cargo bay of the Stellar Dawn, oblivious to the political upheaval they'd just caused, Jack and Daisy continued their simple act of kindness, proving once again that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology, but in their boundless capacity for compassion.